Do you dream of living in Japan? This video is perfect for you because I was in the same exact position as you are. I wished I knew these 10 things before deciding to move to Japan. Over the course of the past 3 years, I've been creating content surrounding Asia. My wife and I were able to live in Japan and experience Asia. While there's so many videos of people talking about how wonderful traveling to Japan is and living in Japan is, but with my background of born in Japan, immigrating to America later in my life, and then once again going back to Japan, I felt that there's a value and the lessons I learned. These are the top 10 reasons why I decided to leave Japan. Before getting started, I wanted to let you know that this is just my personal experience and my personal opinion about Japan, and it may not be completely accurate for every scenario and every case, but I wanted to give you just my 2 cents on what I think and just forewarn you before you decide to move to Japan. Anyone who has studied or visited Japan would know that Japanese people highly prioritize not causing inconvenience for other people. This comes hand in hand. On one end, people don't disturb your peace. On the other hand, you have to always consider about other people's interests before yourself, which is different from the Western mind of thinking where you put your self-interest ahead of others. At first, you might think, of course, I won't cause trouble for other people. That's just not right. But in Japan, they go into much more depth and in details to the point that it starts to take a toll on you. You want to do things at your free will. Sometimes you want to be carefree outside of your home and you want to do things your way. In a society like Japan, oftentimes that is not accepted. It could be difficult for people with a Western mindset. So it is basically collectivism versus individualism. Next up is following the majority, passing judgment on those who pursue passion or less common route. Because Japan has a collectivist culture, people often want to follow others and do what worked in the past. Japanese people often have conservative view in life. They want to follow the path of what worked in the past the best, which in itself is totally fine, but it is difficult for someone like myself who wants to start a YouTube channel. You're often faced with judgment from other people. As polite as Japanese people are, when you step out of the norm, you wouldn't believe how some people have a harsh look on you. They felt comfortable doing these things because they felt like they're part of the majority group. Now, this is my personal opinion, but I feel like oftentimes Japanese people are faced with challenges, whether they want to pursue passion or they want to do something that they don't want to do. But because of how society views themselves, if they decide to step out of the norm, they always feel like they're being pressured to follow the norm with what everyone agrees. So because of that, some people have hard feelings towards those who are following their passion and doing what they like. And I can totally sense how difficult it must be for those people in Japan who wants to just forget about the rest but focus on themselves and do what they like. Next up is difficulty in building a personal relationship. I often found myself wanting to make friends back when I was in high school and coming to Japan every once a year to see my old elementary school Japanese friends. What caught my attention was that when I asked them to introduce their friends so that I can expand my network of friends, Japanese people like to separate their friends between, let's say, friends you met from school or friends you met from your baseball team or friends you met internationally outside when you were traveling. They like to separate friends by groups, and it's often hard to expand your network outside of that. This makes it hard, especially for those who want to move to Japan and make as many friends as possible. Many people in Japan are very cautious and don't want to reveal themselves too much at once. It takes some time, and which makes it very difficult to make great friends when you are extremely new to the environment, you're just going there, and when you're just there for maybe temporarily. Next up is inequality between men and women. Like many other countries, Japan has that problem too, and it is clearly there in terms of compensation and how women are viewed. In their defense, of course, it makes sense because women in Japan tend to favor, it's slowly changing though, like to get married in their 20s and then have kids and start a family, which means that when they apply for a job, it's only gonna be temporarily. So oftentimes companies will put women in more basic admin jobs, which in turn means that they're gonna be getting paid less. But it's not fair. From the start of the recruiting process, the employers have this kind of mindset because of course some women will want to pursue their career and not want to start a family. But I feel like it makes it difficult for women to get a better positions because of how they view women. What I just described is just an inequality between men and women in a work environment, but general consensus are that men are to be more respected than women. Next up is foreign food quality in Japan. I love Mexican food, I love American food, but when I live in Japan and tried to find a great Mexican food and American food, it was often difficult because in Japan, burgers and fries look great from the outside, aesthetics wise, but when you actually eat it, it's like different. They put in a little bit of a Japanese twist to it, so it doesn't taste the same when I want to eat like an American burger and fries. It's especially worse when you're looking for Mexican food because coming from LA with wide range of choices when it comes to Mexican food is just not popular in Japan. What you get in Japan is not really Mexican food. I really don't like it. Let's just put it as simple as that. Next up is people tuning into your conversations at cafes and restaurants. I can guarantee you that they're tuning into your conversation unless they're like a salaryman, just too busy with their lives. But like for students or housewives who are chatting at coffee shops and restaurants, 9 out of 10 times they're tuning into our conversations in Japanese. That is based on my personal experiences, and oftentimes I hear them like whispering and talking about us even though we have nothing to do with their life. They like to kind of gossip and talk about it, and I don't feel comfortable with that sometimes, and I just want to be carefree and mind my own business and not care about what other people are thinking or talking about, especially being outside. Next up is work comes first, even before family. Even for my dad, work comes first in Japan and family is secondary, and I wish it was different. Based on what I understand in America, family comes first and money is only the means to make you happy and your family happy and then make your life better. But without your family being part of it, no matter how high in the position you are at the company, it's not doing anyone good if you're working like crazy hours and not seeing your family and spending time with your family. So that's something that I found that did not click with me coming from America. Next up is waiting in line and overcrowded places. When places are too popular because they're being advertised on TV or on magazines, everyone goes to the same place. For example, there was a new boba place that opened up in Osaka station. Me and my wife, we live in the area, so we wanted to check it out. But every single day, there was a long line of about 50 people going outside the store. Even during the midsummer when it's so humid and hot in Japan, they would stand in a long line and then there would be like hours of wait time. And this happens to a lot of new places and a lot of existing popular places in Japan. So sometimes it's difficult to have fun when there are too many people, especially for myself who don't like too much of a crowd. So I don't enjoy waiting in line. That was just not for me. Next up is lack of space in Japan. Well, everyone knows that living in Tokyo is like living in New York City in America, and that you're not gonna have that much space. Coming from California, I was just not ready for it. Back when I was in elementary school, I was too young to know anything, to compare anything with, so I had no idea. And in college, when I lived in Japan for half a year, I was just living by myself and I was just fine. But when I lived in an apartment with my wife, I felt like the space was so tight and I wanted to get out of my house, and I do. I often make trips to coffee shops, and even coffee shops are so small. Like, especially in the cities, it's difficult to find places with a lot of space. When I go to like coffee shops, I often find myself only having this much space in between each other, and I don't feel like I'm relaxed in these like tight physical spaces, so it was just that for me. And that is exactly the reason why a lot of family restaurants like Denny's or Saizeria are popular in Japan, because it does provide some distances between people, especially at non-busy hours, and people oftentimes study and work at family restaurants. Next up is, in Japan, rules are absolute and people are not flexible about it. People in Japan work so systematically and they follow every rule step by step that like when different situations come up that's outside of their manual, they don't know what to do, and they often tell you that you can't do certain things because it's not in the manual, even though it totally makes sense to allow customers to do certain things. And it could be frustrating for some people because it totally makes sense, it doesn't cause any trouble for other people, and why can't we do it? And you ask that question and they just refer you to a policy number XXYX123, and then they tell you can't do it. But little tip on that is that if you really show that you're frustrated and upset about it, oftentimes they'll bring a manager over to you, and sometimes they're flexible about it. Actually, you can actually bend the rules a lot if you show a lot of unsatisfaction about the rule in some scenarios. Now, anyways, so that is 10 things I wish I would have known when I was in high school when I wanted to move to Japan. I hope this gives insights on what it might feel like living in Japan and some of the problems you might face, so that you are better prepared. I always wanted to make a video something like this related to this topic, but it was kind of difficult to talk about the negative side of Japan. But you know, I hope this helps. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye!